because I didn't treat you right. And then you told me that you were proud of me. Oh, God. I'm such a sissy.
Nah, it's all right. You're doing good. Doing good.
Thank you. So, but you said that you were proud of me. And I was like, what are you proud of me for? And I didn't understand it. So let's go back to that conversation when, I apologized to you and you said you was proud of me.
I wanted to come and talk about this video. This is a video by a black woman from Memphis, Tennessee. Her name is Courtney Michelle. She's probably now 39, almost 40. She has a younger daughter who probably is 11 or 12 years old by now. And she titled this video where she actually had her baby's father come on her show and apologize to her baby's father, who is married to someone else, and they got joint custody, sharing the daughter between both spots. And she got on the Lapeef network and became one of the Lapeef networks. This is actually his video. As you can see, it shows up on Lapeef network. She left the Lapeef network later on due to her opinions that differ from the Lapeef network. But she used the Lapeef network to get her famous, and it got her very famous. She's not married, she yet. I don't ever think she will, because there's some ghetto-ness in her, some hood that comes from being a black person that only people that are hood will follow. And the qualities that makes her a wife, you can't really see on a video. That only comes from you being in her life, and I'm not in her life, so I can't speak about her qualities of being a wife. Her mind, though, I can speak on because I listen to her mind speak often on her channels. And most of the stuff that she's talking about now, she has a channel called Courtney Michelle. I am Courtney Michelle. And she talks a lot about issues pertaining to issues against white colonialism, white race prejudice, right racism, things of that nature. She's very, very cautious about that. That is a trigger for her. In a big way, it's a trigger for all of us. But what blew me away about this 13-minute film was that the guy is there. How many women have you ever had call you up and say, Henry, I'm so sorry for what I did to you? I've never had one. And I've dated 20, at least 20 women in my 40 years of dating. Well, in my 35 years of dating. I started dating about 15. So let's say I've been dating for 35 years. I'm 48. So let's say 30 years. Okay. Separate, I started dating about 16. Okay. And honestly, I'm proud of this girl because it's the first time I ever heard anybody, as I press play and get this
Hey, hey,
off.
hey.
It's the first time I've heard anybody, I repeat, anybody,
Hey, what's going on,
um,
family? This is your
basically
Renaissance Belle, Courtney
do
Michelle,
this in front of us in
digging
live.
deeper
And
today.
you and or
And
actually
I
she
am going to
recorded the
do
session
something
and then she's
different.
gonna bring in the
Um,
session.
I
And
wanted
I
to
don't
talk
necessarily know as a
about
man if I would
single
consent to
motherhood.
this because this is
And
a
I
very
had this whole
private,
spiel about what I was going to
intimate
say,
moment.
and
But
I decided not to. I
the only
decided
key we'll know
to be
about this is 10
transparent.
years from now when that girl
And
turns
I
15
decided
or
to
20
bring
and
on
starts getting her first penis. And
the
what man
man
does
that is the
their
father
daughter,
of my
because they both got a
child.
daughter, what type
His
of
name's
man
Jonathan.
in tomorrow's world where it's going
Um,
to be less than
he is an
20%
amazing
of
man,
those
and we
kids get
have
married?
a
What
story,
kind of man that would
an
select
interesting
her
story, but
daughter
something that I
as a
cherish.
wife,
And
knowing
so
that her mama was never
I
a
want
wife?
to bring him on. Um, I think in the shows before, I talked about me wrecking my home, and something that was interesting that before um, he told me when I left, he said, "Hey, you wrecking the home."
I didn't understand it then. I do understand it now. And I just want to tell this story because I think it's important to say because I know a lot of people are in my situation. And let's try to grow, be better, and see how we can make it better. So, yeah, Jonathan, you
Hey,
here?
I am here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here.
Hi. All right. So I don't. I know you know that I do this, and I don't know if you've watched, but you've been a topic of discussion a couple times because sometimes people are like, "Well, who is he?" And she's a single mom, and she a baby mama, and so I
Yeah,
get that.
yeah.
And um, for me, I don't consider myself a baby mama.
You are. You are.
It took me a minute to say I'm a single mother
Well, you both.
because I'm not. I have the best support. You, I have.
You are a single mom. Okay? Let's make that clear. Support system in the word single are not what we're referring to. We're referring to married versus single. Married versus single. Ring versus no ring. Ring versus no ring. Miss versus Mrs. Miss versus Mrs. You are single, okay? Sorry, but playing on words don't change the facts, okay? Being open and honest as we as men and women is the key to our life and our success. You grew up in a broken home, most likely. I grew up in a broken home as well. I'm single, never been married, but I did not know how to be. And if I went and paid that $50 to get that little certificate from the state, I would have been divorced later on because the skills to being in a marriage is impossible to learn just by going to church, just by going to university, just by going to class, just by osmosis. It takes people and training. And Deuteronomy 28 broke up our home because of the curses that our ancestors paid. And I'm talking from thousands of years ago. And that's the hardest thing that a lot of people are not going to want to accept. That we are part of a heritage that has been cursed by Yahweh because of what our ancestors did. And that was they stopped following the true and only God.
I mean, you've been there the entire time.
So that's good. I
So
salute
I
you.
want to give you a voice because sometimes I think that men like you are silenced and you shouldn't be. So I
That's
want to
good.
ask you a couple questions. I want you to be honest and let's just see how this rolls.
Okay.
All right. I'm down.
All right. So in previous shows, I said that I wrecked my home because, I left. And the reason why I left was I was like, we are in a whole toxic relationship. But back then, I didn't take accountability to the fact that I was the toxic one. So I want to know how you felt. How did you how did you feel when I left the home?
Well, I would say, first, I would say that you were not the toxic one. Just it takes two people to be in a relationship. And it take.
Amen. First, I salute the brother for doing that. Because women love to play the victim, or they love to take the blame and kind of use it against you. It takes two in every relationship. Number one. Number two, they weren't even married, but they were living together. So they already sinned. Again, the sin of Deuteronomy 28 is on all of us. But then you add to those sins by your actions, aka living in a sexual relationship. Yes, you already having sex. Yes, she was impregnated. Yes, she went 9 months and had the baby. Yes, you have a baby together. But no, that doesn't mean you live together. And definitely if you did not get married. But here's the catch. even if they got married and she walked away and then got divorced, they were still gonna fail because I could bet neither one of them knew how to be in a marriage and came from good marriages due to the statistics of their parents.
two people to work at it, to be in a healthy relationship. So we hear the word unilateral relationship a lot, just kind of meaning one person is working at it more than
Right.
the other.
Right.
But I would say that most importantly, I think I was heartbroken because
Of course.
I look at myself as the protector type
Of
in a
course.
way, and just being that there was a new addition to the family.
A new addition.
I you know I,
Notice how he worded it. A baby. A baby. Now here's the catch. Did y'all plan for that child? Did you actually plan for it? Because in a lot of ways, these women don't take the pill. So a baby comes because she decides 1 month not to take the pill on the ovulation day. Remember, they got to take the pill every day unless they get the Norplant. And a lot of these women don't want the Norplant because they say they don't want the side effects. Man, there's side effects on everything. The side effect that this woman got right now is she's got a 12 or 13-year-old girl that's about to get into boys, and she gonna be a single mom trying to fend off her daughter from penises. But her daughter is gonna pay the price of her, just like my kid will be paying the price of me. We all have done what our kids are going to do.
still do, but at that time, your duties as a man really sinks in as far as what you're supposed to do now that you have a daughter.
All right, but he got way beyond that. He's gone over to the daughter. Notice he did not talk about the relationship. So that lets you know that he didn't explain, well, this is how we started. We've been dating for X number of years. We grew into this relationship. He is a man. That's what you would be saying if you're the leader. You would be going back and you'd be walking the whole path. Well, this is how we started, and this is what ended up causing the breakup, and this is the lesson that we learned from it. Would either one of them do this? No, not in 13 minutes.
So it wasn't just that you left; it was that the two of you left that really you know uh, was life changing for me. You know,
So he's like, the reason it wasn't you left, it was that you took my daughter. Have we heard that from black men? We hear it all the time. But they didn't get to the real root of why. Why did she leave?
so for the most part.
Yeah. Um, I would say at at that stage, at the beginning of when I decided to leave, there was a lot of resentment. I know that you had some for me, and rightfully so. Again, like you stated, it wasn't that I left, you know, our child left, and she wasn't in the
You
home,
took the
which we were
child.
used to 24/7.
You took the child.
So there was a lot of resentment,
You took the
and
child.
it took us a while to get over that resentment. And it
What you
might
mean
still
it took us? It took him a while. You can't say us a while. You can say it took you a while. You left him, and we still don't know the why you left part. So if you really want to apologize, just get it all out there. Don't just throw out a little apologize. If you really want to help people and you really want to help couples, let's talk it out. Because he ain't coming back. I mean, yes, y'all got a child together. But that guy is not coming back. You're not getting him back. Kevin Samuels would argue, go back to your baby daddy. Yeah, it may have could have been. Maybe a month later after you left, but not 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later.
be some there. Um, but what I do want to know is how did we get from there to here?
Okay, so now I am interested in how. Go back up here a little bit. Stop jumping over there. Get over there. Get over there. How do we get from the breakup to where we are today? Well, let's talk about that. And that's a very big, 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 big question. But the reality is, the answer to that question is a multifaceted answer. Number one, to answer that question is that guy did not hate you. He had some values. Because in most male relationships, when we break up with you, even with a kid, they do what my father did. My father had a child with one woman, Sandra. It was a no within the first year of their marriage. Sandra moved on, met another man, had another child with that man. What do you think my father did? He moved on and met my mom, had two kids with me. What ended up happening? Well, he didn't love my mom. My mom loved him as many women loved the men. But it was on a rebound. Okay? Sandra gets murdered by her new husband, a Vietnam vet, who does a murder suicide and kills himself after killing her. Why? He was so pissed off at that woman for what that woman did. He felt like that woman didn't deserve to live. Just like men today have killed their wives on TV with Facebook. And back in those days, there wasn't no Facebook. We're talking early 70s. Why would a man who has a baby with a woman who has a child from another man kill that woman in her home, in her front door, while that woman's holding his child, but doesn't shoot the baby, but shoots himself? Satan is powerful. But how does that impact other people's lives? Well, it destroyed my father because now he realized, the woman I loved, that I had to annul the marriage and I had to make this second woman and this third and this fourth and this fifth and this sixth women. And none of them I loved, but I lusted and they loved me and I impregnated them. But I never cared for any of their kids because I didn't love those kids. You see the consequence, how that can continue for 50 years? And we children got to grow up knowing that our fathers never loved us. And we have to forgive that so that we can live and not die of bitterness.
Yeah. And you made a good point about the resentment part, but that kind of fades away over time, when two people just focus on, um, you know, the new addition, the child, the most important. Um, I think that going through what we went through as far as different legality situations and things like that, because the love for you never left. That was always there, always will be there. So actually going through the legality situations was what hurt the most. And
Mhm.
eventually,
All right, put that without in real man's language, guys. The legal system forces you to fight for custody. This guy was a good man in the sense that he was able to get joint custody. So instead of it being the typical deadbeat dad that most of the time my father or other men have been called out and they just lose their whole parental rights, wife gets it forever, and the guy is going on to the next vagina to make more babies. This guy wanted to stay there for his daughter. Okay. He sounds like a beta male because he says the statement, which I salute this, the love never left. Well, that's great, but I don't know how many. This obviously has been many years. You can't have this conversation on TV, radio with someone you just broke up a year ago. It'd be too fresh. It'd be too hot. Too many emotions. So this had to happen many years ago. I'm gonna say over 5. Okay. Now, do they get back together? No, they don't. No, they don't.
I had to tell myself as a man, hey, um, you know, this is an awesome person, amazing mother of my child. So that's what matters the most to me. You just kind of understand that, hey, at that point in time, we might have just been in two different, parts of our life and what we wanted to do. Um, and then you just kind of really just let that kind of fade away and really start to understand that, hey, I still care for this person and what we created. And I want to do all I can to make sure that this person, doesn't feel like they're alone in this situation. Because me personally, as a man, I knew that I wasn't going anywhere. So it's like, hey,
Now that salutes. I salute this guy. It's obvious that he had a value system that most men never have. And that value system was a value system to say uh, he still thought that she was a great person. Despite the ish that she did, she thought that this was a great person. I have to give props to that. The other thing is, he's got to move on. He's got to meet a new woman. He's got to make more kids. Okay? He can't be following that woman for 30 years. Sorry. Yes, she was your first love. Yes. You're going to always love her for the child you created. Yes. But the fact of the matter is, you have to, that you can love them, but they may not love you. And that's something that's tested daily.
Hey, either you know stick around like you want to do and make it work, and or do the opposite. So the opposite wasn't really a choice. So just kind of make it work.
So
Yeah.
you hear what so you hear what he sounds like? He sounds like a beta male. The woman ran the whole relationship. Notice how he doesn't take responsibility for his mistakes. Notice how he doesn't man up and say, well, I messed up. I did this. I. And notice he doesn't say, well, you did this, I did this, you did this, I. He's trying to cover and say nothing. That's kind of a weak beta male move. It's like putting a woman on a pedestal and keeping her on that damn pedestal. And the reality is her ish stinks. Just like my ish stinks. We both got to go to the bathroom and defecate. We both got to pass gas. We both stink. It's human nature. Okay? It is not something that we need to act like it's just a shock. Okay? Now the crazy part about it, I don't know, because he doesn't show his face on the camera. You only see in her face. He's a little bit scared to show himself. He's a little shy, and that's probably one of the reasons why she left him, because she don't respect him because he's a beta male, and she's an alpha woman, and she ran him, and he didn't like, and he didn't know how to run, so that's why she left him, because the guy that she wanted to be with, most men, black men, can't be because they never had a father teach them how to be.
Well, I would say this, man, there is a lot of regret that I have.
Of course, there is.
Um,
Talk.
I would say that
Saw
not.
that? You saw that? Did you see what you saw that? At the moment that she needed to speak her word, you saw what the beta male did. He tried to jump in to save. We call this Captain Save a Girl. Uh, a brother by the name of, who came up with that term, Tariq Nasheed, he would say Captain Saver HOE. And Mason, what that means is when someone's hurting, you're always trying to jump in like Superman, try to save them. Lois Lane Superman, Lois Lane Superman. Women do not need to be saved. Sometimes they need to fall. You're not here to save them. God saves them. You don't save them. And the reality, in that little millisecond, when she needed to apologize and say what was needed to be said, she didn't want to say it. And he should have made her say it. Weak man. Very weak man.
Just you with that has regret in this situation. Regret looks different, depends on who it's coming from.
See the beta male? See how he keeps covering? See how he's like, he's trying to think of something. He's trying to cover instead of get to the root. It's in this man's mind, she can't do nothing wrong. In this man's mind, I was wrong. No, both of y'all were wrong, and y'all need to admit your faults.
The biggest thing is now, some odd years later, we know
Yeah,
hindsight vision's 2020. We both look
yeah,
mhm.
back, and
yeah.
ultimately, when two people create something new, you got two people that don't have children, then you create something together. um That means a
Have
lot.
such a
So,
baby.
you know,
So as he keeps going back to the whole baby. See that? So he doesn't really go to the issues that will help that child become a future mom and a future wife. All he focuses on is we created this. Okay, yeah, it's sex and conceive, fine. There's more to life than creating a child. It's about raising the child. It's about being mature and teaching the child truth. Prime example. There's a guy on TV by the name of Boyce Watkins. Boyce Watkins. Boyce Watkins is a PhD. Let me show you who Boyce Watkins is so y'all can know what I'm talking about. This is Boyce Watkins. Get past the BS commercial.
brother goes, "Day music, bro." I said the
This is
same thing.
Boyce
Can I get holding this
Watkins.
man? Sure, boy. Oh, thing like that. But
Boyce Watkins made a channel on YouTube where he tried to market and sell the idea of wealth accumulation and power in the black community. He really became what we call a guy who got a PhD from a white university called the University of Kentucky in finance. Okay, finance. A very hard 20-year degree, a terminal degree. 2% of the United States have PhDs. So he made it to the top. He met this girl 20 years ago at Kentucky University when he was a nobody. And he loved her. He fell in love with her. He then gets her after she's been married, divorced, and has a child. He also has children as well. So this is what we call a number two marriage, a blended marriage. A marriage of, second chances. But here's something that was tragic. After wedding night, a rapper who millions of people know called Willie D comes on and to their wedding. Now, Willie D was a part of a group called the Ghetto Boys out of Houston, Texas. And he became and has become a $1 million celebrity on YouTube talking about issues in the black community. Okay? And what was tragic was the photo that you see right there in front of you. This is at the reception of the wedding. The husband, who do you think is the husband in this photo? Eric, the two men are wearing black. Who do you think is the husband? Who do you think? Willie D. Look at how the bride is looking at Willie D. Look at how close the bride is to Willie D. If I was a man who didn't know who was getting married, I would say Willie D is getting married to this girl, and the other guy is what we call best man. But you know what? We're wrong. The person that should be getting married is Boyce Watkins, and he is crossing his legs. He is literally about a foot away from his wife's leg, whereas she is neck and neck with Willie D. She is looking at Willie D with the lustful eyes of, I would love to have sex with you, despite the fact she's married now for a second time to Mr. Boyce Watkins, a man that she really doesn't love, but he loves her. A man that she joined because she's at the end of her walk and he is at the end of his, and she did not want to be alone. She did not want to die alone. And since this guy is coming to her, pledging his love for years to her, he will. Look at this statement. She was biting her bottom lip, as that woman or man said. You look at the photo, she is biting her bottom lip. When a woman bites her bottom lip, that is a sexual overture. That's every woman that is attracted sexually to her man that she wants to have sex with. That's one of the signals for every woman. So if you are with a woman and she's biting her lip looking at somebody else, you've lost your woman. Tragic, right? Same example here. Football player at the end of his career, his wife is getting ready to, that he married was a woman that had already a child with a rapper named Future. He thinks that he made this woman into a wifey. She's only benefiting because he's winning right now. But once he gets to the Hall of Fame and he's done with his career at the age of 45, where do you think that woman's going to be? On to her next penis. This is Boyce Watkins, and he got his teeth fixed. He got veneers. He's now working out. He's changing his body. We all as men got to do this, okay? But the question is, should you go back and try to find someone from your past that you've always wanted to date, or do you go with somebody who's got her past, you got your past, but we now want to make a new future together? The answer is number two. Because now it looks, and we'll only tell as time goes by, because this was just a year ago, what their relationship will be like. Because it will come out. Sex gratification or non-gratification, it's going to show in every relationship, especially in relationships. Now, not as singles, because in singles, you can have decisions on whether you want to have sex tonight or not. But when you're in a husband, wife, in a house together, paying bills, living together, sleeping in the same bed, snoring together, that's when all of that comes out. Why would this woman bite her lip in this photo? And I know now she probably lying to Boyce Watkins about this photo because it went all around the world. They both had to have a conversation. But Boyce will remember this 5 years from now when the divorce comes because it was already shown on YouTube. He's about 48. She's about 48. It's tragic. But why is that powerful? Why is that truth? Because most women never do what we're talking about here. And even this group, even these two people didn't do a good, well, this guy, I'm calling out the guy. Even this guy didn't do a good man enough job to speak the truth. All he kept trying to do as a beta male is cover for his long-hearted girlfriend, who I think he still loves, which is okay. But y'all not getting back together, dog. That ain't coming to pass. You got to move on.
Well, I would say this, man, there is a lot of regret that I have.
Say it.
Um,
Why? What regret is it? Don't start to crying. What regret is it?
I would say that
There it is
not
again.
just you that
God.
has regret in this situation.
I don't want to hear him
Regret
talk.
looks.
I don't want to hear
I'm
him
a whole
talk.
emotional little lady.
I don't want to hear him talk. I know
But
what he's gonna
regardless
do.
of that, the one thing that I knew was I never have, even when we were fighting back and forth,
About what?
our daughter was number one priority.
Okay, let's get
Yeah.
back. Let's
And
talk to the
I'm a whole
fighting. Let's
emotional,
talk to the
I'm a
fight.
whole
Okay,
emotional
let's get
little
over here.
lady. And
What was the fighting about?
it's interesting because we're not in the same household,
What was the
but
fighting about?
how we parent her, it is kind of like we are.
Oh
Like when
Lord.
you have, well, let me ask you a question. And this is about a conversation that we had, say a
Okay, get to the
year.
point. Get
Well,
to the point.
let me ask you a question.
Really did something with it. You're a homeowner. You're amazing mom.
Okay.
Super supportive and protective of our child, and you're everything that I would want the mother of my child to be.
Oh
Uh,
God. So again, what you see what he just did? He did what I just keep telling you. Listen, they broke up, and he keeps praising her. Now I'm sorry, bruh. I appreciate you praising her, but you gotta move on. You're not going back to her. If y'all were getting back, y'all would have been back. There are issues that y'all not talking about. That is the issue why y'all not together. And you ain't talking about him, and she ain't talking about him, and that's why y'all won't be back. If you talked about those issues in public, maybe y'all might get back together. But when you start just doing this praising and praising, and you notice something. She never praised him. She never praised him except only when it came to her child. That was it. The only time she gave that man any compliments is because he's doing something for her baby, not about him.
So even though, like you said, it was a year ago, and it's still a few years after we had broken up, and just what you did with that time frame was remarkable to me. And I tell you, to this day, like I told you then, I look up to you, and that helps a lot
What
too.
do you mean you look up? You can't look up to a woman. To look up to someone means you're lower than that person. Broken beta male guy. Sorry. You can say I respect you, but not look up to you. And again, the choice of words are critical. It tells you who you are and what you're not. So the tragedy about that is the look of her face tells it all. She might feel bad, but the reality is she don't look up to you. And as a man, our wives are supposed to look up to us. It is not the other way around. God gave us the right to be the head and the leader. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. Well, that means, bruh, if you loving your wife, she gonna look up to you. She's gonna value you. She's going to want you to be her man. But I'm gonna tell you the root of why their relationship didn't work out. Are you ready? They were living together before they got married, and they did not get married in biblical matrimony without any training, without any teaching of God's holy written word. That's it. They did what a typical American person does. We are fucking. That's cursed. Cause it gotta be blunt, man. I'm tired. I mean, we ministers get so weak, and that's why people look at us ministers being so weak, because we not telling the truth. You're ucking. You're having lots of great sex, and in that lots of so-called great sex, oops, I'm pregnant. Now everything gets serious. Now we got to start working together, and we got all these differences. How I handle my money, how you handle your money, how I run the house, how you run the house. Feminism, not feminism. Feminism, not feminism. Submission, not submission. Submission, not submission. Leader, follower, leader, follower. And what ends up happening is fights. And what does the woman do? I run back home to mama. And then I file for divorce.
Um, with dealing with the past and hurtful situations and things, but you take those lemons and you turn it into lemonade, which is what I think we did, and what I think you did. So you are a shining example of Zoe, for Zoe to look up to. So that's what I appreciate the most. So that's what
So that's where she edits and cuts it off at. And I'm sorry, but no offense, that is kind of weak. And there's going to be a lot of comments. There's over 1,000 comments, not that many, compared to, it looks like 94,000 people watched the video, but only 1,000 people commented. That's pretty low numbers. I mean, if you got 94,000 views, you expect at least 30,000 comments. At least a third. But let's look at some of the comments here. Men just love to be appreciated by the women. What she did is beautiful. Let's give him the credit. His level of manhood is what made her apologize in the first place. Shout out to Jonathan. He sounds calm, like he's healed, moved on, and found someone who truly appreciates him, but will always love and respect the mother of his child. She knows she messed up and lost a good man. Exactly. And that's what I clicked. That's right. And that's exactly what he did. The way he sounded was like a man who had moved on, but respected her for the fact they had a child together. But the reality, as Kevin Samuels would say, the best you can get is your baby father. That's the highest level you could ever get. So that woman can't get another higher level. So she's got to go lower. She's got to go with somebody who is with one kid, at least one. And how many men you know out there got one? Man, most men out there got at least two. And guys like me who have none, we ain't messing with y'all. We know the trauma. Because that woman's, I've heard her talk. She still got some trauma. There's still some ghetto in that woman. And we understand. It's where you live. Black Memphis, Tennessee. Still black, black. Pro-black. Listen to this. After about 6 months of watching Kevin Samuels' videos, yes, I apologize repeatedly to my son's father too. So this woman says she did as well. Shout out to the great Kevin Samuels. Amen. Hallelujah. Let's go to the next one. Thank you, Kevin Samuels, for opening the eyes of these great women out here. Thank you, Courtney, for your accountability. Good. Being a black father going through it with my daughter's mother. This video is making me rethink my approach to co-parenting with her. Maybe there's a chance we can co-parent in a healthier way. Maybe. All right. I'm proud of Jonathan. He obviously turned tragedy into triumph. He clearly was in love with this woman and loves his daughter. Another thing is that losing that family unit and going through the court system is tough. I'm glad it didn't break him. Now let's just come to honest truth. We understand that love is always the start for every relationship. I loved my girls that I dated. I loved them. But does that mean that I was a good husband to them? No. It doesn't mean I was a good husband or a boyfriend. Jonathan was not a good boyfriend. If Jonathan was honest, he might be mature today, but a real man would sit back and he would admit, I was not a good boyfriend to you. I should have done this. And men, let's learn from my mistakes, because now, with the woman I'm with now, this is what I'm doing. So what I did not know with Michelle Courtney, I know what to do with the current woman I'm with. That is the maturity that men need to see from other men, that they can learn from their mistakes. And that's okay. But when a guy doesn't clearly explain that to a woman, and the thing about it that I didn't like was, let that woman cry. When those moments in a relationship come when you're like this, I want y'all to see this. When those moments in a relationship happen when you're like this,
I'm a whole emotional. Well, I would say this, man.
yes,
There is a
that is exactly what you want to see in your woman. Because God made them to be nurturers for a reason. Because God gave them the gift to have emotions. God didn't give men the gift to have emotions. He gave us the gift to have logic. But when we men act too emotional and they act too logical, we got a problem. Men's supposed to act logical. Women are supposed to act emotional because they're the nurturers. They raise the babies. They give the babies love in those first years. Where they get that from? They get it from this emotional ability right here. But that also applies in a relationship. It applies when it comes down to you having those heart to hearts. When I was in a relationship in the last two relationships with my two exes, tragically, I didn't know this stuff. I didn't learn a lot of these things tragically until 2017. We're in 2023. So it's been about almost 6 years that I finally learned some of these truths because my father was gone when I was 5 and never saw him again. My uncles were not in my life at all growing up. Military drill sergeants are not your dad. I never had an individual be a father figure to me. So when my mother died when I was 25, I was kicked out into the real world. Now then I went to Bible school and I thank God for the word of God, fell in love with the word. But even the word of God, hallelujah, doesn't teach you about relationships with the opposite sex. It teaches some things, but not a lot. So when it comes down to you being able to work with a woman in a relationship under Deuteronomy 28 curses, oh my God, and you don't know the word, oh, you dead. You're done.
A lot of regret that I have. Um,
See the manipulation? She know exactly what she's doing. The the and the pause. This woman is a manipulator. Masterful. Black women are notorious for this. A real man would sit there and not say a word. But watch what this dude does. Comes to try to save the day. Watch this.
I would say
That
that
there it
not.
is. Right there. I would it's because and this is how you been the whole damn relationship. You know how many men are that way? Captain Save-A-Ho? Tons. And you know what? That woman didn't need you to save her. She needed to be honest with you. You need to hear the truth. He never really got the truth in their conversations. I promise you that they really never had a heart-to-heart conversation where she admitted, I'm sorry for that a statement I said on that day at that time. I'm sorry for how I made you feel on that day at that week. These are all important for her next relationship. How she apologizes to this guy is how she will apologize to the so-called high-value man she wants. Pause, say la. Think about that. Like, comment, and subscribe. You know I'm telling you the truth. You know I'm telling you the truth. And we men, we can also apply this to ourselves. There's moments where we might break down, and the woman needs to let us break down and say the truth and not call us a wimp for crying. But guess what? When women break down, we need to let them break down and not trying to be Captain Save a girl and fill in the blanks. Shut up. If it's an hour of her boohooing, let it happen. That's where the healing comes in on both sides.